Okay, okay. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is your girl, Miss Sophia the Diva, and I am coming here much earlier than usual to talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta like I try to do every Sunday, but lately that just has not been happening. But either way, just want to talk about these last two episodes. The storylines are continuous here, so I figured I would just talk about both of them today because it made sense. Because these last two episodes really gave us a deeper inside look into the marriage of Kenya and Mark Daly. And there's some other things I'm going to talk about too, because we've seen Nene on this tour, on her press tour to defend herself, since rumors have been swirling that potentially she may want to sue Bravo, and two, that she might not be returning to the show, which would not per se be a bad thing because she's been on and off the show for the past 12 years. She is the only original castmate still standing. And, maybe she's outgrown the show. I mean, I don't know what to say. And in addition, we'll talk about, Kenya and her stands. I had someone comment on a comment I had made on a post on YouTube about how Kenya don't come for people unless they come for her. But I'm like, clearly you did not see the attack she launched on Tanya with the intent to do harm to her relationship instead of focusing on that broken relationship of hers. That's neither here nor there. If you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to click that subscribe button as well as the notification button so you can know whenever I go live or post a video. Mainly, I've just been going live because I need to order a new external hard drive, because for some reason when Catalina updated to MacBook, my external hard drive no longer works. So either way, now this first episode was Ken versus Kenya. This is where we see Mark calls Kenya Ken instead of Kenya. And Ken and Kenya are two different people, like two personalities, like a Gemini. Speaking of which, I don't even know what her star sign is. She probably is a Gemini with the way that she acts, like her personality. Or maybe she's a Sagittarius, like Nene. So there was couples bowling in this episode, in which some people were invited and some weren't. There was also dodgeball, which was a way to get the ladies together in order to bring them together to talk about a trip that they were all going on. So when we opened up this episode, Eva, who is recovering from Braxton Hicks contractions, we see her sitting there eating ice, baby. Hell, she made me want to go find some Sonic ice. That's some of the best ice on the planet is Sonic ice. Which some people were saying you probably shouldn't be eating ice like that because it's very salty. And we know that pregnant women also often end up in states of preeclampsia, which is extreme high blood pressure. It was sometimes rises to a level of stroke level. So either way, he's writing called Open Mike, where we learn that Mike has not always been a perfect individual, but let's be real, all of us have a past and all of us have things we are not proud of. Maybe not to the level of almost going to prison or jail, but we've done some things that, probably would be frowned upon in most parts of society. But she's kind of dumbfounded and baffled by it because Mike has been a playboy for many, many years now. And so now I wish she had, I was like, Cynthia, honestly, you should have read the book. He gave it to you. Even prior to you taking this man's ring, you should have been reading that to know what kind of man you were getting into, instead of chasing him down, begging him for a ring. After you had sworn off, you didn't know if you would ever get married after the damage that Peter left you in. And we're going to address a little bit of that too, about relationships and how we as women oftentimes do things and go the extra mile for men because we want them to see the value in us, when really they should already be able to see that. And we shouldn't have to do all these extra things and be at their mercy when they talk to you like trash, like Mark talks to Kenya. But we're going to address that too. But Mike did something very interesting that disturbed me, because I do like Mike Hill, but my issue with him is when she was talking to him about it. He basically said, I have no intentions of cheating. You might cheat. And she was like, no, I won't. He said, but you could cheat. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a form of deflection where you're trying to take the heat off of you and put it on her and make it seem like she is a cheater, and she's not a cheater. That's not part of her behavior pattern. I mean, she's 52, 53 years old. If she hasn't been cheating in all this time, why is that an issue? So that's kind of a big red flag for me with Mark not seeming to want to take ownership of what it is that Cynthia was trying to say. But I think what was disturbing is that she adopted something that people are saying Michelle Obama has said, and I love Michelle Obama. But she was saying we need to learn how to argue. And I was like, I would expect that from an attorney. But I feel like the connotation of saying argue is a bit extreme and a bit negative and too strong. When we're talking about relationships, I think we should be talking about, we need to learn how to communicate and articulate our feelings and, what it is that's bothering you, and that other person, there should be active listening and active exchange of things going on. It's just that simple. You don't need to know how to argue. But it got very intense because, he was saying stuff like, because I ain't got time for all this bullshit. I don't want to talk about this bullshit. And I was just like, wow, okay. Later on, we see Kandi gearing up for an event that her and Kenya had planned for the girls to play kickball. I said dodgeball, but kickball. But hell, it might as well be. If y'all play I remember playing kickball. That could get a little dangerous and out of control. So everyone's calling. She's texting to follow up with who's coming, who's not. Marlo said she was going to come, but she was going to bring what did she say? Holy water or something. She was going to bring her Bible. I was like, girl, bring some holy water in a spray bottle and just spray it on Kenya because she evil. Oh, she needs Jesus. But either way, I think that event went very well. I noticed that Kenya was very strategic in picking Marlo to be on her team because she was probably afraid that Marlo was going to make sure to hit her with the ball to get her out. Kenya's team did end up winning. I don't know what happened to Candy's team. I know she probably felt down and out in some way about it because, Candy's very competitive and does not like to lose. They talk about getting ready for the trip to Greece, and in the confessional, we have Kenya saying, why would I want to invite, if it was up to me, why would I want to invite a hypocritical bully? And in my mind, I was like, if you're going to have a conversation about being a hypocritical bully, let's talk about you. You bullied Kim Fields. You bullied recently. Tanya became your target. And your shit ain't all the way together or right from what we find out later in this episode. So I think, wait a minute. Is this the episode where he basically said that he wanted to drown Kenya? I think. Yeah, it is. So either way, so the trip is going to be planned. Everybody's being invited. Everybody's going because Kandi and Kenya are tag teaming and planning this trip. Okay. Greg and Nene are featured in this episode briefly where they talk about how is it possible for someone to show up to an event for 7 minutes. Our issue, of course, is how could you show up to your event? How many minutes was it that she was late? No, not minutes. 2.5 hours late to your own event with random people no one had ever seen. Although Nene said in a recent interview with the Breakfast Club that those people are her friends. Just because, we all film together and you don't see them, you're not on the show, that doesn't mean that those are not my friends. I said, maybe we need to go back and roll tape and watch I Dream of Nene when she did her wedding or vow renewal, whatever it was. Because at this point, she always says she's been married for 23 years to Greg. But I'm like, there was a year y'all weren't together. So did the time clock stop or was it tolling? Okay, I mean, is there some sort of attachment there? But either way, it is evident that Mark Daly really loves his daughter Brooklyn with Kenya. And who couldn't love that little girl? She is absolutely adorable and a beautiful child. He decides to do what normally is a mommy and me activity by going swimming. And I learned something too about swimming, but I didn't learn how to swim until I was in junior high. And it was required. So I didn't know that when babies learn, you blow in their face and you dunk them in the water. So that was a fun event until he started talking about committing homicide with Kenya. He was like, maybe next time we go swimming, maybe we should dunk mommy like that. And maybe we should not let her come back up. And I was like, Mark, that sounds like homicide. I mean, I don't like Kenya, but damn, you ain't got to murder the girl. Oh my God. That's just, that's homicide, Mark. That sounds premeditated as well if something should ever happen to her. So they're going to the bowling thing. We see a somewhat couple-like behavior between Mark and Kenya, and that they are holding hands. We also learned that it ain't really been shaking in the bedroom, and they do primitive sex talk, and basically it sounds like Mark is a complete ruffian and Neanderthal in the bedroom. He don't give a fuck how Kenya feels about being pleasured. He just need to get his rocks off and he's good. That's what I got from it. So then when everybody shows up to the bowling alley that's coming, that's when all the mess starts. When Portia says to Mark, oh, this is the man that stole Kenya's heart. It's so good to finally meet you. And Mark was like, oh, okay, I'll take that. Because he was like, I didn't know I had stole her heart like that, but okay. We learned that Kenya had done something very shady by tagging everyone, including Nene's husband, Greg, in a post about this black tie or luncheon or something that was a charity fundraiser that Mark was helping put on. And, eventually, basically what ended up happening is that we see Kenya kind of fade into the background and Mark having to tell her, I don't know why you would do Nene like that. I like Nene the time that I've met her. I don't understand. And everyone can tell that they're not on the same page. Cynthia isn't feeling it. It's like, you're supposed to have your woman's back. Portia's like, if I don't like somebody, you're not supposed to like somebody, when it comes to her and Dennis. And I'm just kind of like, the thing here is that Mark and Kenya are not on the same page, okay? And I'm going to share at the end of this review my theory about why Mark Daly acts the way he does on camera. Because I was listening to, because I watch Nene's and I watch Candy speak on it, and there are two different videos. And one of the things that Candy said is that there was a time off camera when she had seen Mark actually be nice and loving to Kenya, and is the man that Kenya often describes him to be when she talks about how he used to be. But she was getting the business because Mark checked her. He was like, he told Greg, because Greg had to tell him when him and Nene showed up, which by far was the funniest shit ever. Nene was like, hey, Kenya, oh my God, she just all loud and shit. But, I'm just like, this shit is hilarious because you should see Kenya. It took all she could to remain Ken and not let Kenya come out with all of this. Everyone observed how Kenya was, it's like, oh, well, when Mark's around, she's like silent as a church mouse, and everybody was kikiing and having shits and giggles about it. I thought it was funny. I also like the fact that Portia stepped to her about how she did Tanya and calling her a see you next Tuesday. So I was just like, yeah, no woman, and like somebody else said, it's rare you ever hear a black woman call somebody a see you next Tuesday. You might hear something else, but you're not going to hear, that. I mean, to me, it sounds like Kenya might as well should have hawked a loogie and spit on Tanya. That's how I felt about the situation, because it was disgusting and it's not a good word to use. I don't know why she used it, but whatever. Well, that's because she's classless and a gutter snipe herself, but that's neither here nor there. I think that Mark is about taking the high road in a lot of things. And despite the conflicts between her and Nene, he's just like, I still think Nene is a cool person. But then again, it seems to me also that Mark likes to play, the middle and kind of is always just like, I'm not going to agree with what anything. I'm going to go the opposite of whatever Kenya says. The next episode is called In the Name of Charity. Once again, baby. But let's talk about what went down at this baby shower. So Cynthia put on a baby shower at one of assisted in putting together a baby shower for Eva, and it was all about being flower children, basically peace, love, and joy, just like the 60s. It was a very beautiful setup. It was very tranquil, although people did say it was hot as hell, so they ended up having to go inside. But it was a very beautiful setup. But Nene once again came in with her very negative. She came in with an air of negativity. She was like, this ain't Eva's house. We ain't seen Eva's house. I mean, what is she doing? Moving from box to box? And I'm like, Nene, really? Like, do you not understand that Kevin McCall, her oldest child's father, is batshit crazy? Like, the Negro needs to be on medication. He's bipolar, clearly, and refuses to get help. Okay, he's always threatening people. I heard recently he was here in Atlanta cutting the fool with the judge. How are you ever? You will never get custody of that child. You have no parental rights. They should be revoked. Okay, let that child be happy. The only reason you want to be around Marley is because you want to terrorize Eva for whatever reason, because she didn't stick around to take the beat downs that you give. I mean, we know for Kevin McCall, imagine what abuse he could impute upon that little girl. Because if you put your hands on your mama, you ain't got no respect for no female whatsoever. I don't care what my mama has done to me. I would never raise my hand to hit her. Okay, there was at one time when I was 16, but my Uncle William stopped me. But I saw red. She said something crazy and throwed off. And I was just like, why would you ever accuse me of doing something like that? But either way, let me digress. So either way, God rest my Uncle William's soul. He was an awesome, amazing person. So then Nene starts going into this litany about how she had extended an olive branch to Kenya by texting her and saying, well, you know, Greg had cancer, and then when Nipsey died, and then Kim Porter, I mean, it was just too much. And in my head, I'm like, first of all, did you know Nipsey Hussle on the level to where you should feel that way about him? And she probably did know Kim Porter because they all grew up here in Georgia. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But I can understand Greg being sick. But I still say to this day that Nene's behavior was out of order when it came to how she treated Greg and how she treated everyone during Greg's cancer. And I just think that is, I call bullshit. That's not a legitimate excuse. And if I was Kenya, I would have rolled my eyes and been like, girl, bye, girl, please twirl on. Okay. So then Candy is trying to get Tanya to convince Paul to show up to this charity thing to set aside Kenya's pettiness. And Tanya was like, no. And then Kenya was like, I apologize for what I did. I mean, I was wrong. I mean, girl, it's not like I give out apologies all the time. And then she was like, Tanya, it's not like Tanya has a husband and a company and a child. And I'm just like, that is the problem with some women these days. Some women act like because they have so much on their plate that other women should not have anything on their plate. I remember one time my friend and I were talking to someone that we considered a good associate, and she made the comment, I don't understand why you all are tired. It's not like you all have children. She also articulated the fact that she didn't understand how is it that, you know, we could be financially struggling and not have children. My thing is this, I went to grad school, and I went to private institutions because I didn't know any better at the time. I do now. I wish I could have some of this stuff forgiven, or somebody just come to me and say, Afia, here's a check for $275,000. Pay your student loans. I would be so grateful right now. But, you know, it's like, just because certain people don't have certain things like you got, it doesn't mean that their life isn't complicated. You don't know what all Tanya has going on. And besides, her and Paul, married or not, they have found something that works for them. Just because what you see is a fairy tale, a disillusioned one at that, that has jaded you. I just don't understand how you could sit there and fix your mouth to say what it is that you said about Tanya, okay, in her situation, because her and her husband to be run tech companies, multi-million-dollar tech companies, and probably also have some interest in real estate. Can you say the same? But it was very evident that she was backed into a corner because it was important to her husband for Tanya and Paul to be part of it. But Tanya in the end said, I'm not inviting Paul because you inviting that woman to the lunch. That was an attack on him and his character, and he's not even sure he wants to come around to that. She also told Tanya that it's not like you ain't never been called out of your name. And Tanya was like, yeah, but I've never been called to see you next Tuesday. And then Kenya had the nerve to act like, well, I've never used that word before. No, it flew off your lips a little bit too easily. So I'm pretty sure you've probably used it to call somebody one. I mean, you act like you still in the pageant world. Girl, this is the real world outside of that. So you need to figure out what it is that you need to do to get yourself together, because you're going to mess around and call the wrong person something, and then you're going to get smacked across your face. So, I mean, Phaedra almost did it. I still remember that. That shit's still hella funny when she came across the table with that damn purse and almost whacked you with it. So Kenya is planning and doing all the event planning for Mark's event, and she says that I'm doing all this to help I'm doing all of this, and I'm very well connected here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I know how to get stuff done, and so I've just been helping Mark because he's not from here. Now the irony of all of this is the fact that Mark wanted a charity event done in Atlanta, which is a place that he does not have a lot of connections in, because his home base is in New York. God bless him, okay, because I heard that he had a roach infestation in one of his restaurants, okay. I'm just going to say it's New York. We're lucky they didn't find rodents. That's all I'm saying. And she's like, I'm just running around being the wizard. Like more like the Wicked Witch of the West or the East, but okay. Meanwhile, we see Kenya going over some lines for a part in The Chi, which, as it turns out, she did not get that part due to the timing of taping with The Chi and doing this, but she was going to play a soft, masculine, stud lesbian on The Chi. And the Magic Don Juan was like, I don't know why you having such a hard time with this role, because you do be giving off soft masculine teas on the law. I was like, damn, so that's how you feel about your employer? Like, really? And so we also see where, but Candy did say she did get a role on The Chi. It's just not this particular role that went to someone else. And I think that probably was a blessing. I don't think she was ready for sex scenes with other women and all of that stuff. I know me personally, I wouldn't be, but depending on how much that check is, if it's $275,000, I would take it today. Okay. Either way, at one point, Mike and Cynthia show up. I don't remember how the scene played out. I just remember that Mike specifically told her that if you are not happy, because I don't want you being happy, you have no business marrying me. So basically, Mike's right. If you're not happy with someone, don't marry them. Okay. Don't just be getting with somebody to help fill a void in your life. Okay. And then Kenya says Kenya was giving her some sort of advice, talking to first of all, I don't know why Cynthia would ever go to Kenya to talk about her relationship, because part of the problem is not just because that's your friend, but right now your friend is in a bad situation. And sometimes people like Kenya are unable to separate their personal lives from the issues, from your issue, and they'll make your issue relatable to hers and thus make it look like your issue is far worse than what it really is. And, she's telling her once a cheater, always a cheater. And then, she tried to compare Mark and Cynthia to them. Y'all are a lot like us. And I'm just like, Mike, at least from what we know, has never talked crazy to Cynthia. And I'm pretty sure Cynthia would never allow that. People think that Cynthia is weak. But one thing I do believe is that Cynthia is perfectly capable of standing up to a man and telling him, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. Because she's just in a negative space. And Kenya also stated how she doesn't want to be single and she wants the fairy tale. And I think that's part of what happened. Now, I don't know the situation. Some people are speculating that they're not really married. I really don't care. The problem with Kenya is the problem with so many of us as females, and I say us because some of us are willing to settle. We will ignore the red flags and speed on into what we think. Like, we will make this person into what we think that they are for us. Like this whole little fairy tale thing, which sometimes I honestly, at this point, I'm just like, maybe we should not be letting little girls read these fairy tales. Because some of us grow up like, oh my God, I'm going to be like Cinderella. And I'm going to, oh God, no. Y'all don't need that in your lives. You really don't. But I think that Kenya ignored a lot of things that she should have noticed about Mark, or she really never gave it time to figure out how to get to know somebody. And to be honest, you really don't know anyone at times, but there are going to be things that start to leak out where you can kind of see, okay, this is a red flag. Maybe this person isn't for me. Nene is talking to Wendy Williams, who spilled the tea about allegedly Nene quitting the show. And so basically Wendy did have a good point about Kenya, because of course Nene has a big problem with Kenya, just like Kenya has a big problem with Nene. Y'all are two peas in the pod. I don't know. I can see why you wouldn't get along. It's like two rams coming together to fight over, whatever, over a carcass or something every time. But Wendy had a good point. Allow Kenya to bury herself. Kenya came back to the show, I feel, for whatever reason, I don't know, because it seems to me that this coming back cost you your marriage. It's dysfunctional. Later on, we see Kenya stepping and fetching it for her husband, honey, her husband, who had asked her, he claims 3 days ago, to help him get an outfit together. And then she also had gotten a dress so that they could color coordinate together. And he told her her dress was too shiny. And then she was coming up the stairs. She was all winded. I was like, wait a minute, Miss Health and Fitness. Why you all winded, girl? Why you so tired? Were you running through Lenox Square Mall when you went shopping? So either way, I thought the outfit she picked out for Mark was very, very nice. But I did think that he was just a total and complete asshole to her about it. There's really no form of gratitude or gratefulness coming from him. And my thing with Kenya, and y'all know I do not care for Kenya at all, but it did kind of get to me during this episode. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. And then she was like, he told me, you getting dressed before me? She was like, yeah, I got to do my hair and makeup and all that stuff. And he was just like, whatever. And here's my thing. If you are in a relationship where you have to walk on eggshells with your mate, that is not the relationship for you either. And that's for anyone, male, female, same sex, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever relationship you in. If you have to step back and belittle yourself or dumb yourself down or be overly accommodating, that's not the relationship for you. It's toxic. And he's getting what he wants, but are you getting what you want? So that's a big issue. And it is most unfortunate that Kenya has sold herself a fairy tale about this man. Then we come to the day of the event, or the time comes, and Mark is running around, 4, 6, 7, 8. And he's just getting it in, honey. And then Cynthia tried to get offended because honestly, I just don't think that Cynthia likes Mark anyway because of how he treats Kenya. But I'm like, you really shouldn't like Kenya because she treats others just like Mark is apparently treating her. It just doesn't make sense. So, she was like, I can't believe he just ignored us. And I'm just like, just give him a minute. Finally, he does acknowledge them and speaks to them. We get to outside where he actually does go to get Kenya. I feel like that was a breakthrough. But we find out that her bodyguard is outside standing in the heat. It's hot as hell. And Mark is like, why is he standing out here? And then King is like, well, if he ain't have sense enough to go in, but he's supposed to be waiting for you because apparently you told him you were to get there at a certain time. And so he was just waiting for you. I don't know. But here's the thing that I said about Pola Ken. Mark tolerates you. He does not celebrate you. That was evident in this episode. I feel like you need to go back into your grab bag and just grab you a good therapist and also a psychiatrist. You need to consult with a divorce attorney. And you need to then get you a new man once you have healed from your brokenness, which includes childhood traumas and anything else that has happened to you in your adulthood. Okay. The benefit opens up with somebody singing Amazing Grace. I was like, okay. So I still remember when Portia tried to sing that song. Who help us, Jesus? Mike Hill did a great job. All these M's, Michael and Mark and Paul and Greg about the only ones that have names that don't start with M. And Dennis. Yeah, Dennis. He's a man of RHOA. So she was like, I just can't believe he didn't acknowledge me. Oh my God. And then my thing is, Mark probably feels like he will not give you the satisfaction, the gratification to sit up there and gloat. Okay. I'm his first lady. And I'm just like, yeah, I ain't got no church or an office, but okay. And then the way that she did Marlo, regardless of whether tickets were free or whatever, this was an event that was raising funds for children similarly situated like them. And you were just very, very rude to Marlo. And you've done Marlo this way before. I get it. You don't like Marlo, but how you did her and her boys, and I like how she took them out of the place and how the other girls came, because she said, never let someone treat you like a second-class citizen. And that is correct. You walk away from that situation. And she made it basically seem like, it was just the most awful, classless thing. And she showed up with 2 extra people. These tickets were free. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Bravo kicked in on these tickets, but whatever, Kenya. And she just kept going from table to table. And Mark was like, I do not want to be part of this drama. Marlo did approach Mark to talk about that and ask, was there a table for us? He said, yes, of course. So after all this gallivanting around the tables, spewing about how classless Marlo is, even though her classless act of crashing someone's event like Marlo's wig party or wig launch, I'm thinking to myself, it made me laugh my ass off when Mark said, I thought it was a really great idea that Marlo brought her nephews. Nene also had to share that she sacrificed getting dressed in the car to cut her meeting short to be there and be present so Greg could speak. I think that Mike Sterling has a really great story about how he was adopted and how, nobody wanted him, but then somebody did and they took him in, and look, he's grown into this great man. He's an attorney. He's ran for office he's ran for mayor for the city of Atlanta. I think overall, I think Mike is a really good guy. Although I still will say this, to this day, I met Eva when she was dating Lance Gross and they were together. And I just thought that would be such a beautiful couple. And they too would have also made beautiful babies. But either way, I'm just going to tell y'all right now, I love Eva's children. I think they are absolutely adorable, but Mikey has my heart. He is just the cutest. I just love him. But either way, I like Mike Sterling's story because it teaches us all that it's not about where you start. It's about how you finish. And his life is still not finished, but you know what I'm saying. She also went on to say that she was tired of these entitled women And I was like, well, we're all tired of you and your mean spiritedness. I know I am. I think that she's rude, she's entitled, and just overall mean spirited. She's just an overall bitch in every sense of the word when it is used to describe a woman as being difficult. Okay, you're king. I'm gonna add you, but you better ask. Don't be on here doing some BS. So either way, okay, you on. You got something to say about RHOA? I can't hear you, but okay. Let me see. I think I know why. Huh? Okay, I can't hear you. Okay, but thanks for joining. So either way, y'all, Kenya just, I just don't know. She's so negative and just so broken. I'm just like, I don't understand how people stand for her. And I like how Mark told her some things you just need to let go of because he's not going to co-sign on to you and your bullshit. And he also was doing an interview and he was like, I hate being on TV. Everyone knows I hate being on TV. And then I was thinking to myself, you know, and then Kenya sitting there broken and crying about the fact that she was, oh, they hate on Kenya though. She got haters. No, okay, thank you for typing it out. I don't think that Kenya has haters. I think that Kenya has just made herself be very unlikable. I think that she's very mean-spirited. I think that, and that stems from her taking preemptive actions to protect herself. Like she feels like she always has to be in defense mode. And that's just from a psychological perspective. But I feel like if you're almost 50 years old, by now you should be able to recognize that it's you, not everyone else. Why is it that you don't have a huge circle of friends? At one point, we even saw her aunt had stopped messing with her because she took the cameras to go approach. But I mean, let's be fair. Kenya does not need anyone but herself because she does enough to stir the pot and make people not like her. She attacked Kim Fields the season she was on there. She was disrespectful to Phaedra and Phaedra's marriage. Hey KJ. She who else was it? Hey KJ, you're just gonna have to type your comments because I could not, for some reason, the feedback is not. Well, you know what? Yes, I can. Let's see. What do you have to say? I just thought about why I can't hear. Okay, here we go. Let's see. But I just feel like King is just a mean girl. She is, and she does it on purpose. She's just a nasty individual. Okay, KJ, you are on. What you got to say? Well, I'm good. How are you? What you got to say? Are you watching Real Housewives of Atlanta? Huh? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay, KJ, try joining the conversation again. I think I've got it figured out if you can. Try to join again. It's all show business rating, baby. I dislike certain aspects of the show with the lack of unity. Hey, John. Yeah, I it's very unfortunate. But it doesn't show it just doesn't show her in a positive light. People say she's actually nice. I just don't believe it. So right after they finished right after they finished, it was announced that they were going to have a divorce. Mark and Kenya are getting divorced. Here's what I think about all of this overall with Kenya and Mark Daly. Here's what I truly think. What I believe is that Kenya begged Mark to let her return to Real Housewives of Atlanta because remember she got married and she didn't let the producers know anything about it, right? And so now all of a sudden he's there, but he doesn't want to be there. And it's almost like he's doing these antics and things to prove a point about, I will act a monkey's ass before I let you drag me back on a reality show again. That's and that's why I think that when Candy said what she said about the fact that, yeah, I've seen him be nice to her and romantic and all the things that she talks about where it used to be. My thing is this, Kenya, I don't know why you came back to the show. If you got to choose one, you got to have marriage and a family and just work that hair care business. One of the two, because clearly Mark does not want to be part of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So wait a minute. So for the people out there on my Periscope, we've got a comment that although he hasn't been watching the show this season, he feels like everyone kisses Nene's behind and kind of gangs up on Kenya, basically. But you don't think that she's just mean sometimes? Like this season, what you missed out on. No, but I don't think that Tanya deserved it. She came for Tanya, and Tanya had done nothing to her. Nothing. She sat up there and decided to drag a conversation up about some cookie lady here in Atlanta that claims that Paul, Tanya's fiance, approached her. And then to add fuel to the fire, she got mad at Tanya for in turn letting it be known that sometimes Kenya wears a wig. She got mad about that. She invited the cookie lady to this lunch where they were supposed to hash out their issues, and then called Tanya a see you next Tuesday, which is aunt with a C. So that right there let me know that Kenya has problems and she does not know how to communicate with women, how to deal with women. For whatever reason, I think a lot of this is from childhood and also from her pageant days. Because, pageants, they can be vicious. I mean, but you don't have to be vicious with these women. And I think Nene, despite the fact that I think both of them are very similar, Nene did have a point, is that, King is just really nasty. Now, I have met Nene before. She was at one of the women's things. You know how you meet people and you can tell if they're... I like Nene for some reason. I don't like how she does moves and shakes sometimes, but I really do like her. And I think it's because I know that deep down inside, she's not as vicious as she comes off. Now, King is just vicious. Well, then I will say that Nene does want everyone to bend to her will. And if she can't control you, then she decides she wants to talk bad about you. So I will agree with that. I will agree with that. But but well, I honestly feel like this season, well, I think that Cynthia honestly should have this season. Just I think to teach Nene a lesson, she shouldn't have went back after Nene when Nene ran out of the wine bar crying because she had want my sisterhood back. You said I was toxic. And I was like, is this heifer really crying for the okay, Nene, whatever. And then Cynthia's like, well, I have to be the bigger person. And she doesn't. I think that Nene kind of sees her life as a rags to riches tale because let's be real, a lot has changed since season 1. Listen, a lot has changed. Even I think at one point Nene was cockeyed and Johnson. Okay, but either way, I think she got that corrected. But I do love the show. I don't care for Kenya, and I know that there are people that will see Kenya in a certain light, but I just feel like, is it right how Mark is doing her? I really feel at this point that what's Mark's shenanigans and antics really are the basis of him never being invited back to the show. Because when he told them that if the camera people didn't stop rolling in 5 minutes, he was going to do something about it, I was like, yeah, you ain't going to be invited back to the show because you talking about doing damage to camera equipment. That ain't going to work. So it comes on every Sunday at 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. I don't know where you are. Where are you? Okay. Yep. On Bravo. Bravo. 8 o'clock tonight. And this is in this episode coming up, they're going to Greece. And Candy has asked everybody to be nice to Kenya because Kenya is going through a divorce. And Marlo started laughing and said, we'll see. Yeah. Yeah. So they announced it at the end of this most recent episode, but I don't think they're getting a divorce. Last time I saw an interview with Kenya, she was saying that they were in a better place, but they did say that they noticed that she had dropped daily from all of her social media. Although unfortunately, her Instagram did come up in my news feed, and it showed that she still has like a highlight of the dailies. So I don't know what's going on with that. I really feel like if Mark sincerely is not into her like that, then they should go their separate ways. But I feel like he probably does love and care for her. It's just that he don't want to be on the show. And he did it begrudgingly and did it to teach her a lesson. And I feel like Bravo should not force that situation. If the man said he don't want to be filmed, don't film him. They didn't make, I forgot what that lady's name was on Married to Medicine LA. They didn't make her, okay, thanks for joining. They didn't make her her husband be visible. So either way, y'all, we just had a great conversation on Periscope for those of you listening out there on YouTube and Facebook. But I appreciate you joining the conversation. But that's all I've really got. But I wanted to just say to everyone who finds themselves in toxic situations and doesn't know how to get out of them, think about your worth. Think about why it is that you're in this relationship. You know, what are you getting out of it? What are they getting out of it? Because sometimes you're going to meet people that you will be in a relationship with, and they will pretend that they actually, give a damn about you, but then towards the end they don't, because they pretty much have drained you of what it is, whatever it was they were looking for. So we got to be very careful and mindful of that. Okay. So protect your heart. Ladies, stop buying into these fairy tales. And number 2, stop believing you just gotta be married. You want a piece of a man. You don't need it, sis. I'm just saying, it ain't worth it. Some people wondering why a bunch of us in my generation are running around here. John said, call Tyrone. While a bunch of us are running around here still single in our 40s, and even I have some friends that are in their 50s. We just ain't got time for the bullshit. And like now, with the fact that my career is finally kind of taking off, I really don't have time to be. If you are not intentional, like if you just looking to get some cookies, you need to say you need cookies, because I'm not providing cookies to your milk. I'm just saying, I'm out here looking for whoever, but I hope they find me. I ain't looking for them per se, but I do swipe every now and then. I'm just saying. But either way, that's all I've got. I wish I had the Hi. I wish I had the audio up, but I usually plug in my headphones because I find that they make great mics when you're recording. And I was afraid to unplug it from my phone because I was afraid the audio on Periscope wouldn't go. But I think we had a great dialogue about how people see Kenya versus how people see Nene. Like, I'll take Nene over Kenya any day. And I feel like after having met Nene, I feel like she is a good spirited soul. I just think that she's just misguided and misdirected. I don't know how else to say that, but I do like Nene. And I did love the Breakfast Club interview that they did. Charlamagne the God held her oh, grazie. Yes, I have someone speaking to me in Italian telling me that I am beautiful, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But either way, I just want to thank you guys who did take time out to join the conversation. I'm sorry this video went long, but we actually had dialogue today during the live about the show. So I probably will not be tweeting during the show this time. I will probably be in the office. I have an audit report I have to get through, or at least have something to say about it. Because last Monday we were all something crazy because we were like, what? Oh, I didn't know we had to have them all done. I thought we were just going to talk about how y'all could help us get this stuff clear. Oh, it wasn't just me. So either way, I'm getting ready to head to the office. Y'all have a happy Sunday and, get you a little sleep, get you a nap in, okay? Because, we lost an hour last night. May it rest in peace. But either way, I've been Miss Sophia the Diva. You can catch me if you live in Atlanta. You can catch me tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Old Vinings Inn. Returning to the stage for the first time in 2020. I've got some new jokes. I've got some oldies but goodies, and I'm going to make it and have a great time. Shout out to Mookie G for inviting me to perform. I think after March 15th, I can truly say I will be able to start doing open mics and working more on my craft. But right now, I've just been rehearsing in the mirror. I hope the jokes are just as funny as they are to me in the mirror. That's all I'll say. So either way, but Old Vinings Inn in Vinings, Georgia is where we will be. That's in Cobb County. Parking, you can park across the street. I think across the street is like where Cammy Cakes is. But the comedy show is totally free. So come out, Miss Sophia the Diva. And I think it's a total of 7 comics on the lineup, but it's a free show. It's a great show. I know Mookie puts together, from what I understand, a great show. So holla and chin up, Buttercup. The suns will come out tomorrow. I promise you. But in the meantime, in between time, stay fabulous. I've been Miss Sophia the Diva.